Okay.
Dude, so soft and luxurious. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. The goal is to work 0 days of the year.
Like, yeah, well, the goal is to work so much that we don't have to do it after.
Yeah. That's what's Dave Ramsey said. Live like no one else, so you can live like no one else. That's like his. It's like his mantra. It's like work as hard as you possibly can for the shortest amount of time, so that you'd never have to work again.
So you can bury me in a Bugatti.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Dave Ramsey's good. I started listening to his podcast. I think it was this year, not too long ago. And it just like the way he says it is just like so black and white, and he's just like a heavy hitter. Like when I'm listening to it, sometimes it's like almost like you're getting scolded.
It is. It's true.
So it's like even sometimes like he'll have a new episode, and I'll hesitate to even click on it, but I know I want to watch it, but I'll be like, I'm not ready to get yelled at yet. So it's like I'll wait a little bit.
Sometimes we all need a good sober scolding. Like I mean,
exactly.
If it's the truth, even though it hurts and it feels like a scolding, like I would rather like get wrecked by the truth than like somebody just like it's okay.
Exactly, and that's exactly what Dave Ramsey brings for me. It's just like that person just that I can kind of go to who doesn't know me. He's just gonna give me 5 minutes of just like a straight, like like a quick little scold, and it just makes me feel like, oh, I need to fix this.
There's something good about that. Like a lot of people don't get that. And some of the people who call into his show, they like know the answer already, but they just don't want to do it. Yeah, they just don't want to do it. And he's like, guy, you already know all of the stuff that I've been talking about. Like, just do it. And people are like, but yeah, well, I guess I knew that. And it's all like, okay. But some people really actually do want his opinion.
Well, they want to get rich quick. It's like, okay, well, I know the answers, but I want the easy way instead.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are always looking for the easiest way from point A to point B, and I don't blame them for looking for that. But sometimes you just have to go through the mud to get there.
Well, what were you saying? I was saying on another show. I was like, I'm sorry, but this is offensive, but I don't have any other better advice than just do it.
Yeah.
Like you have to get up and do it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we were talking about, but it's like at the end of the day, sometimes people don't want to hear it, but it's like, no, you have to have discipline and get up and just do it.
Yeah, the amount of things that you like people know how to do, like they know like the process. They know like they've been listening to something long enough where it's like with the Dave Ramsey thing, it's like you've been listening to him for episode after episode after episode. You know exactly what he's going to tell you, and so like you called just to see if you're gonna get something else because you don't want to do it, and that's key. Is just do it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't like to come to that realization. I was talking to somebody I don't talk to this person very often, but we sat and we just had like a 2-hour conversation, and she was telling me about like a relationship she was trying out, and she was all and I basically said after this whole conversation, I was like, listen, you know if you want to be in this relationship or not.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't see why you're fighting this concept. It's all like stop disregarding what everybody else thinks. It's like you know if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. And it's like just do it or don't do it. It's not a very complicated, and a lot of people don't like to hear that, where it's all like, oh, I want to just like vent my problems. And that's really what Dave Ramsey comes into, where it's all like, he'll just shut that right down. Like he'll be like, no, I don't like, I'm $100,000 in debt, but I go out to dinner every day. It's like, no, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah. But no, that's actually like that's perfect, because like that goes into like this whole feeling thing where like you feel something. And that's like whatever the relationship thing, right? You're feeling some sort of way, but your logic side of your mind is telling you other things, or people around you are telling you other things, and so it makes it a lot harder if you would want to jump.
Well, and sometimes you even know deep down inside, in the very depth of your stomach, you know, but you just don't want to do the difficult thing. So it's like, oh well, I can tiptoe around and play around, and people will give me all these other different advices so that I don't actually have to choose the thing that I know I need to do.
That's what we were talking about yesterday, and it's like that's such a dangerous concept, because we get worried about, sometimes we're so worried about what other people think that we refuse to make the decisions that are healthy for us, you know? It's like, why do people get into $100,000 worth of debt in the first place? It's like because they want the creature comforts that everybody else has. You know, it's like, do you really need the new Porsche? No, I don't need a new Porsche. It's like, I want a new Porsche because my business associates have new Porsches. And it's like,
but I didn't make any money this year. Still send the Porsche.
exactly. It's all like, oh, I'll make up for it next year. Next year's excess will cover this year's deficit. It's like, no, it's not necessarily true.
That's a place to be. Next year will cover for this year. That's a place to be because that's when you really get into it. I just know a couple of people who live that lifestyle.
A lot of that's America in a nutshell.
Yeah,
that's not
like-
even like everybody's like, let's cash flow our life, and that's cash. That's decisions. A lot of people are making decisions saying, oh, I'll just make this decision right now. I know it's a little bit detrimental, but it feels good right now, and then I'll make a bunch of really good decisions later on down the road that'll make up for this bad decision.
Yeah,
It's so true. When your track record is bad decision after bad decision, I'll just start making good decisions.
Yeah. I'll get better. New Year's is the best.
Oh,
example.
yes.
It's all like I'm gonna. It's like I've been eating Burger King and McDonald's for the last 8 months, but in 2 months when it's New Year's, I'm gonna start eating just broccoli and boiled chicken. It's like, yes, I'm sure you're gonna make that direct change.
Your only craving is Burger King. Like,
Yeah.
what do you expect? You are going to be miserable.
It's like, even if you can even keep up with it, you're gonna be miserable. And if you're probably just gonna do it for 2 days, then do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so I have a story to share because now you talk about the gym. It was I was with a good friend of mine yesterday. He was telling me, hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this story, but it made me laugh.
He does.
Oh, absolutely, he might. But he was telling me, he's like, oh, I went back to the gym, and I was like, oh, good for you, because it was like we hasn't been in a long time. He's like, yeah. He's like, but the story to get there is really where it's really where it's at. He's like, I was sitting there. He's like, I've been eating Whoppers a lot for the last few weeks, and I've been really enjoying myself. You know, I was sitting on the couch, just like, oh, I feel so good. I just finished eating, and I saw a picture of the weekend that I just had, and I look at the picture, and I was like, who's that fat kid in it? And then he realized it was him. Not that he's fat, but it was just like he had a bigger belly, and he was like, "Who is that?" He literally stood up, went right to the gym. I gotta applaud him for that, for actually just getting up and going to the gym at that moment, because I don't know if I would have.
That's the wake up call. A lot of people need a wake up call, you know. And it's like, as funny as that story is, like, it's like, haha, he thinks he's fat, but it's like how many times have you had a wake up call in your life, like where you have said, like, oh snap, no, like this is not gonna end well. Like, the trajectory that I'm on ends in very bad places. I need to step back and I need to start backing this up. You know,
a lot of time the wake up call comes when it's almost too late. It's right there on the edge of too late. And if you procrastinate when you receive the wake up call, you're gonna be cooked.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you end up in a place that most people don't come back from.
well, that's why people dislike doctors so much, and it's all like, doctors get such a bad rep because they see a small little thing. And
Are
they
you
start
calling me fat?
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yes.
they see the smallest little issue and then they start running a bunch of tests, because to us it's just a mole, but to them it's like, okay, it's probably just a mole, but if it's not a mole, it could be all of these different things, you know. And everybody gets all mad at doctors because they're like, oh, I went in for this little thing and they gave me all these tests and they don't know what it is. And it's like, yeah, because they're making sure that you're not gonna die in 2 weeks. It's like,
Well, it's like, oh, well, your heart's feeling a little weak because you're like 50 pounds overweight. Yeah, what are you trying to say? That's it. I'm never going back to that doctor again. He's like, no, that's legit. He's telling you that you might die because you like too many Whoppers. Like,
Yeah, that's real, and a lot of people don't like that kind of criticism. A lot of people don't like that kind of opposition, they'll call it, in their life, that hurdle that just kind of just hits their face. But that's a wake up call.
well, hey, look at the doctor thing too. A lot of people like to go to the doctor and get the drugs that come with it. It's like, oh, I'd rather take cholesterol medication than lose 20 pounds, or whatever it is. Like, I'm depressed. Like, oh, change your environment. Yeah, I'll take the drugs.
Yeah,
I'll take the drugs for $1,000, Alex. Thank you.
yeah. Well, because it's easier. Because it's a lot easier than losing 20 pounds. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to take medication than it is to cut off all your toxic friends. Like, it's a lot because all you have to do is take a pill 3 times a day that society's already deemed socially acceptable.
Exactly.
So it's like, oh, okay, well, we got another member of the club who's taking pills. Like, okay, it is what it is, you know.
Yep. And that's that for that.
Yeah.
Hey, so on a side note, as we shift gears a little bit, we should have like these little like Instagram clip segments that we should take out, and it's like love advice with Guru Benji.
Oh no,
Love Guru Benji.
I don't know why people ask me for advice.
Well, I feel like we can just take the clips from the podcast that just happened. Like, here's love advice from me.
Oh,
Cut them off.
Most. We're gonna touch the subject again. Most social issues can be solved by say what you mean
mean
or
what you
cut
say.
them off. It's like
No, but
it's not that hard.
That's legit. It's you set boundaries. You last show you let your yes be yes and your no be no. Leave no room for any kind of misinterpretation, and cut to the point. Get to the point. And if that issue isn't solved by doing that, then I don't know what your issue is.
A lot of people complicate relationships and because it's the opposite sex, and it's like they or because they do other things, and that really it becomes a lot more intimate.
That's really what it. You know what? Actually, we can talk about it straight up. Like, having sex in a relationship changes everything.
Everything, absolutely. It changes how you talk to this person. It changes your expectations of each other. It really brings it to a whole nother level of just. It's complicated to really just kind of just explain in 4 minutes, but it's definitely something that you have to keep in mind. But it's a relationship is a relationship, whether it's with a person or whether it's with a female or whether it's with your boss. It does not matter.
Eric says a relationship's a relationship, whether it's with a person or a female.
I bet like a friend.
We know you're self-employed, but
friend.
are you having sex with your boss?
Yeah.
A friend, a female, whatever it is. Okay, so you have to understand the basics of it, which is like like Tyler just said, like yes be yes, no be no, and set your boundaries and be able to talk. If you can't talk about it, cut them off. Like if you can't have a conversation with this person, then you can't have a conversation with this person. Period.
It's also and we make short films, so it's like something, but like the romanticism of Hollywood is a big thing too, where it's all like Hollywood has blown every relationship out of proportion, and it's like, oh, there's like these grandiose displays.
He
of,
doesn't
like,
write for me in the Notebook.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or it's all like, okay, those are very nice and those are touching, and and it makes everybody feel good, but not every, like, you don't have to make your relationship super complicated. Like, it's like like Hollywood makes it seem like, so you don't talk to somebody for a day, they're off cheating on you. It's like that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So society as a whole has like a bad view of
Our
relationships.
culture has been the culture of America has been scripting relationships for the last I don't know how many years.
Well, you see it like that too. Like casual sex is just rampant. And that's really what it is. I mean, swipe left for whatever. It's like, oh, okay, well then. There's a big problem. I think the best advice that we could give the podcast listeners before we really shift gears, if you want the best success for your romantic relationship, keep sex out of it. Build a healthy relationship.
Oh, you went to someone's front door. They were just like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many times have I seen it? Even like looking back in retrospect and looking at like my friends in high school and everything, like the minute they had a girlfriend, like, oh yeah, it's cool, like you have your girlfriend, and then the minute they had sex, it was like everything just started
everything
just
spirals.
imploding.
Yeah, everything spirals.
Their friendships suffer, their relationship suffers, and it just turns into this giant hot mess, and they end up depressed for like 2 years and get cooked for the rest of their life. And they can never have a healthy relationship afterwards because they didn't start that one right to begin with. So best relationship advice, keep sex out of it until, I mean, this is very unpopular, especially in America, but like save sex for when you're married. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, and define healthy boundaries before you take that step forward, because everything changes once you have sex, and that 1 second of pleasure might cause you the rest of your life in pain.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like it's easier to fall into it than it is to not.
Yeah.
And it's tough because it's like you get caught up in the emotion of a situation, and you get caught up in the concepts, and it's all like, okay, it's harder not to than it is to go through with it. So society has become microwave, so that it's become like, oh, we're just gonna do the fastest thing that gets to the best point possible, and it's tougher to wait, and it's a long time to wait, because like a marriage is a long-term commitment, so it's like you have to wait a long amount of time before you can even start talking about the concept of marriage. So for a lot of people, they're thinking like, I'm in and out in like 2 years max.
Yeah,
like
later.
you ask most couples in America today, do you think that she'll get married? A lot of them will say no.
Well, why do you need to buy the cow if you get the milk for free?
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like what were you saying at that wedding the other day? I bet you half my stuff will stay together.
Absolutely, it's but that's like an age old saying that goes so far back, but it's so true. It's like, how many people are just like disregarding the concept of marriage, like, because there's no reason to get married, quote unquote. There's no reason to get married in America anymore.
Yeah,
it's sad. It's unfortunate.
Well, I think this all kind of ties in perfectly to today's topic, which is emotionals. Emotionals.
The emotions.
Overreacting to things and making emotional decisions that get you into places that are good and sometimes, most of the time, bad. So we're going to talk more about that when we come back from the break, so stay tuned.
We would like to thank Anchor for sponsoring and hosting the Life podcast. So who are Anchor and what do they do? Anchor is the all-in-one platform that gives you everything you need to make and publish your podcast. And best of all, it's all free. Anchor allows you to use their creative tools to record and edit your podcast. No need for any fancy professional equipment. Sounds amazing, right? And we haven't even gotten to the best part. Anchor isn't just a recording and editing platform. They're a publisher too. This means that Anchor takes care of all of the hard stuff, like publishing to Apple and Google Podcasts, so you don't have to. So what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Another thanks to Anchor for hosting, publishing, and sponsoring the Life podcast.
What happened to you? I got touched by a dwarf.
That's the opening film, like the opening scene of the film.
I've seen some things, man. Some things.
Exactly.
Oh, so our Patreon fans, or supporters,
Yeah,
you
they
guys know
this
exactly what we were talking about. And if you're not a Patreon supporter, go on to Patreon and sign up. And it's really affordable.
Ooh, that was a sweet little segue.
Beautiful segue. Beautiful. Absolutely.
It's almost like I practiced it, but I
know,
didn't.
right?
So,
yeah.
So this is Benji's topic today. So want to roll that in?
We're talking about overreacting.
Overreacting.
So I was writing down, again, these usually come to me when I'm like half asleep. So the concept was like, what is the benefit of overreacting? I was thinking of the if any of you have ever watched House MD, very early on in the series, his boss, House's boss, is talking to, and she's like screaming at her, and she says, "What's the point of screaming? Is it supposed to make me afraid?" And she's like, "Afraid of what? More screaming?" And it's like, and that was a line that really resonated with me a while back. It's like, why are you overreacting? Like, what exactly are you trying to achieve here? It's like,
well, just grabbing onto that vein right there. Usually, like an overreaction, like the screaming and yelling things, it's more common in a man's circle. For the fact of intimidation, to be able to manipulate to the end goal. So there's these three characteristics. You have intimidation or manipulation to end result of domination, and that's what it is. It's like, I need to dominate you, so I will either manipulate you or intimidate you so that I can get what I want. And that's a really deep psychological thing, but
very unhealthy.
absolutely. It's
We'll keep moving into what you have.
No, that was pretty. I only had those two lines where it was all like, what exactly are you trying to achieve? Because we see it in society now. A lot of people overreact at a lot of different things. You know,
we see a lot of people overreact in an ingenuine way too. That's the thing too. It's like you get caught, like, and you pulled like the "I'm sorry I got caught," so it's like, oh God, I'm gonna go and like do a whole bunch of good stuff for like one day. Then you go back to your trash behavior. It's like, what was the point of overreacting when you really weren't sorry? Like, it was just like, I'm sorry I got caught. I'm gonna pretend like I actually mean it, and I don't.
Yeah, it's like I think it's gotten a lot worse over time, but now it's like a lot of people overreact. I think that social media makes it even worse because now you can record your overreacts, your overreacting moments, because a lot of people end up on social media. You know what I mean? They have a moment with their spouse, or they have a moment, well, probably not their spouse, but their girlfriend, boyfriend, or they have a moment with their friend, and they end up, or something just happens to them, and they end up on social media, and they type up this whole rant of everything that they just exposed the inner parts of their life to the world that you can't take back. You know, everyone sees that, and they not that they're, oh, nobody judges me. You're getting judged. You know what I mean? No matter what. And you're letting people see the sides of your life that really that no one should really be seeing, because it's just your personal life. As far as overreacting goes and getting in, like going to yelling as your first, it causes like unnecessary stress in your life. It really does. It's a very unhealthy habit, and it does take a lot of time to break those kind of things. But I think it's important to become aware of those things, where it's like if something goes wrong and your first reaction is to yell, or something go wrong and your first reaction is always the same reaction. It's just like overwhelming, like your heart rate goes up. No matter what the news is, it's just like you just overreact and you're like and you just get angry, or whatever feeling it is that comes. It's so important to control your emotions. Yeah, emotions could really, emotions I think is a major cause of stress.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was somebody who said to me a while back, they were all like, we did dumb stuff as kids too, except there was no one around to record it and post it on the internet. And I just think that everybody feels more validated by, like, we feel validated by the extremes, because the extremes are what we see. And it's such a weird topic, and we talk about this a lot because I think this is a core issue with a lot of societal problems that we have today, where everything is amplified. Like, back in the day, if you had somebody who was screaming about a problem, they were screaming about a problem to the people who were within earshot. And now we have this system where it's like, oh, you're screaming about a problem, and I'm going to broadcast that to hundreds of millions of people, and eventually some subset of that population is going to agree with whatever you're saying. Regardless of if it's right or if it's wrong, or if I agree with it or if I don't agree with it, a subset of the population, if you show some opinion to a certain number of people, eventually you're going to get somebody who agrees with you. And I think that Tyler calls it like this echo chamber is a very dangerous thing, where it's like, and we're going to get back into emotions really quickly, where it's like, if I overreact to something and I see that all day long, if my whole Instagram feed is people overreacting to things, then I'm going to assume that overreaction is a normal response to anything that I have a problem with.
Well, you can see that a lot in a family life. If that's how they talk to each other in a family, like if husband and wife talk like that, then that's how the children are going to talk. It's like, the only way I know how to get my point across is to overreact. And we can see in today's culture, and I'm not trying to make this like, this isn't a political podcast at all, so stay away from the political side, but we can see that it's just a normal thing within our society to, like, if I have strong emotions about something, then obviously if I can scream about it long enough, then it must be true. But it's like, even if it's not true, like if I scream about it, or if I feel so strongly about it, then it has, like, then my agenda has to be pushed. And it's like, that's not how it works. Facts are facts, whether you change it or not. We were talking about being right the other day. It's like, if you're right, you don't even have to be right. Like, if I know I'm right and you're screaming at me, I don't have to scream back, because the truth will remain at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And we also get into this idea of like the issue that a lot of parents have, which is really unfortunate, but it's like the temper tantrum system.
Yep.
Where it's all like,
that's the same thing.
Yeah, like, okay, the child is screaming. I really don't want to deal with the screaming right now, and I'm just going to give the child what it wants so that it's quiet, because I don't want to deal with the screaming. I don't really care. Like, the territory that I'm giving up is worth it for me to stop the discomfort that the screaming is giving me. So,
most of the time they don't even realize the territory that they're giving up.
That's true too.
I think
one
thing that I'm really grateful for, and I think I've shared this story, I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, but like, I eat so many different foods, and you guys know, if you're a fan of the studio, you know that I have the little cooking show. One thing that really fueled my passion for cooking and for food, I can really attribute to my parents, where whatever they made for dinner and whatever they were making, that's what I was eating. Most kids, they grow up, it's chicken fingers and French fries. That's all I can eat, Bob. No, I can only eat SpaghettiOs. I can't eat broccoli. Like, I can't do that. But like, I remember I only had like one instance, and I remember it clear as day. I sat there, my mother said, okay, like, oh, you're not gonna eat this? And I mean, it was something that I ate 100 million times before. It wasn't like, oh, I legitimately don't like this thing, but it was like, I was just being a stupid kid, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna eat this food, I want something else. Mom was like, okay, well, we're gonna sit here until I don't feel like sitting here at the table anymore, and then I'm gonna wrap that up, I'm gonna wash you up, you're gonna go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, that plate is going to be right here for you to eat in the morning, because you eat this food. And I don't remember if I finished the plate or anything, but I only had that one instance, and my mom didn't give up any ground. And from there on, I mean, now I eat like fish eyeballs and like the craziest things. But like
Parenting 101.
Yeah.
Take it there. That's a good one.
yeah, my mother did a great job. I mean, it wasn't like child abuse or anything. It was like, I'm not giving you any ground. You're gonna eat what we eat, and I'm not gonna cater to your whim because of your stupid emotional kid stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we talk about that concept of like it's not the problem right now. It's the premise of the issue. And I think society as a whole has lost that concept that you have to take certain stands on certain topics not because of the specific detail. It's not about the plate of food right now. It's about what the plate of food represents.
Yep.
And that sounds a bit dumb, but it's like if I let you have this, then you're going to want more. You know, the idea of give an inch, they take a mile type of thing. It's like that's a real thing for a reason.
Oh, you can't have it's true, and that's really having healthy boundaries and letting your yes be yes and your no be no. I mean, that's the secret to success in a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, like, oh, like you don't want healthy, like, say grilled chicken breasts and broccoli for dinner. It's like, oh, I just want chicken fingers and french fries. You give up on chicken fingers and french fries. It's like, okay, well, today, no, I don't want chicken fingers and french fries. I want cotton candy for dinner. And it's like, and it spirals out of control that way. It's like, oh, you lost that one little battle. It's like, oh, I'll secede a little bit. And then it's like, that's the session turns into the next battle. Let's see how far I can push him. Let's see how far I can push him until the point where I'm having baby bottle pops.
Yo, and we talk about that for a concept of a child because it's very simple because we all can relate to that. But that's the same concept in every relationship that you ever have.
And internally.
Oh, absolutely.
Your brain is we talked about this in the show, your brain is a drug addict, where it's like this is the way that our brain works. If you say to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym, and then you don't go to the gym, you just devalued everything that you say to your brain considering the gym. Like, it's like, okay, brain knows gym is not really an option. It's like, it sounds so dumb where it's all like, you're not like three different people, you're one person, man. It's like, no, it's like you're playing the game on both sides where it's all like, okay, your brain will do the things that you ask it to do if you give it positive reinforcement to do it.
Yep.
You know, and that's something that a lot of people just don't or disregard. That was the word that I was looking for.
They don't realize the importance of it, and that's understandable because, like, especially when you're just coming into this kind of like understanding, it's like, oh no, it's like it's me, and it's like when you use like something positive as a reward system, like it just like that's how you get like for like homework. You know what I mean? I used to always reward myself after I finished my homework. I wouldn't be able to do any music before I finished my homework. So that was my way of like I have to get my homework done. And I'm talking like college. High school, it was just homework wasn't a thing, but
exactly. Yeah, I was about to say that wouldn't have worked on me.
Yeah, no, but college, but like that's kind of like when I would run my business during the college years. It was like I had work to do, but I had to like I didn't want to let college work kind of like go to the wayside, especially when you do it online. There's no other, you know. So, but like that worked for me, and like that was like I love music so much that was enough for me to be that reward system. But if I would have just went straight to the music, I would have got that fulfillment, that serotonin that my mind is looking for way too early in the day, and anything after that would have been like whatever. I don't need it because I don't need it to feel fulfilled. I already feel fulfilled.
I feel fulfilled. I did 3 lines before I came here. Like, what do you mean I need to do homework? So before we get too far away,
they cannot hear you. There you go. Okay, no. Tyler's playing around with.
Well, we can't hear him. He just can't.
But like
everyone else can.
Anyways, I knocked my headphones out. Talking about overreaction, and you were talking about a place of overreaction where we have a couple minutes. This is like the perfect place for it. We were talking about like the sorry I got caught overreaction. Like, what's going on with my words today? Sorry I got caught overreaction. There is a place for overreaction, and until you can actually have the discipline to find the right line and be able to act in a right way, overreaction is a good place. It's like, okay, well, I can't hang out with these friend groups because I just talked about cocaine for some weird reason, but it's like, because if I go hang out with them, I'll end up doing coke. Let's just throw it out on the table. Why not?
Yeah.
So the overreaction is I cannot talk to any of those people. I have to stay as far as possible away. I can't look at you. I can't see you on social media. Yes. I can't say hi. I can't do anything. The overreaction in the opposite. Like, you need they talk about it in music a lot too. You sometimes it takes an extreme motion, or like with your voice, it takes an extreme sound to be able to train your voice so that you can so that you can use it on the nuanced level. And it's like, okay, it takes an exuberant reaction to be able to get the desired results that you're looking for on a smaller scale.
Yeah, no.
I hope that communicates well.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I like that a lot because there is a place for overreaction, and something like that is definitely like the whole like I need to stay away from like if cocaine or drinking or whatever it is, something that you really want to smoking. You can't hang like the overreaction there is like I need to stop hanging out with the people that promote that stuff, that give me like, you know, the people that give me cigarettes, because if you keep hanging out with people that are going to give you cigarettes, they're going to keep giving you cigarettes when you need it, and they're not going to be that wall for you where you could be like, oh, I want to quit, and they're just going to be like, oh no, I'm not giving you this.
Think about it. I mean, Eric and I used to smoke. Like, you have to be taken so far away from it to the point where you can build healthy habits to be able to be around it and be like, I don't want any of that. Like, that's disgusting. Or like, there's not even like a level of temptation because you've already created those good neural pathways, and it's like, nope, that's not part of my life anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Extreme reactions are for extreme situations.
Yes.
It's like that's something that you have to remember, where it's like, okay, if you're addicted to something, that's when you have an extreme situation where you're going to react in an extreme way, because you cannot whittle yourself off of certain things. It's not healthy to, or you're not going to last long enough physically to get to the point where you can whittle yourself off of a certain thing. And it's like extreme situations call for extreme reactions to those situations.
I mean, there's far and few things, like we were talking about substance. There's far and few things besides like alcohol and heroin where if you get off right away, like you can't get off right away. That's it. It's like, I mean, if you've been drinking for X amount of years, like you can't just quit cold turkey because your body will seriously seize up and die.
Yeah,
or like, I mean, obviously being dope sick, like if you're doing copious amounts of dope every single day, like you need to get on methadone to be able to get off and wean off. But other than that, like the extreme overreaction is a perfectly healthy place to be. Like, I need to cut everything and everyone off.
Yeah, if you're at that stage, that's a very extreme place to be. That's a place that some of our listeners are probably at. So it's a place that I know to an extent I've been at. You know what I mean? Where it's like I had to make some hard decisions to get to, you know, like quitting cigarette smoking was one of those decisions that I had to do in order to get to where I wanted to go. So, and cold turkey is how I did it, and it worked out really well. Now it sucked at the time, but it worked out really well now. But it's the discipline that it was the discipline to stay overreacting.
That's it. And before we get out of here, yeah, it's the discipline to stay overreacting. Wow, that's really good. And it helps to have somebody to be accountable to, because if you're not accountable to yourself, you need somebody to be accountable to. But the Ducks are here, so we'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
That apparently turned out to be a horrible, like, we know somebody who bought a couple of those and they said they were trash.
My Pillow. My parents had a couple of My Pillows too, and they got rid of them.
Anything on an infomercial. I mean, I don't want to say anything on an infomercial, but a lot of stuff on infomercials, you can't really expect the best out of it.
I had somebody give me some bamboo pillows. They're almost like Tempur-Pedic pillows.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I'm surprised, but I like them.
Do they stay cold?
No.
I don't know. That's not one of my biggest, like, I don't get bent out of shape. Like, people are like, oh, I need the cold side of the pillow. Every once in a great while, like if it's stupid hot, like, obviously you flip the pillow over and it's like, oh, that feels good. But, like, that's not a normal concern of mine.
I was just wondering if the bamboo would do anything.
Yeah, because, like, that's, like, their marketing, like, thing. It's like, oh, it stays cool and it breathes and everything like that.
It's fine. I mean, I sleep. Like,
as I'm breathing.
Right?
Another thing that I've been really contemplating lately is like the 1,000 count Egyptian cotton sheets or whatever.
So worth it.
Are they worth it?
So
Yeah.
worth it.
Absolutely.
Oh, they're legit.
I had
legit.
I had 1,000 count
Okay.
Egyptian cotton sheets. It's almost like it turns into like a jersey material.
Okay.
Dude, so soft and luxurious. Oh my god.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was on the fence and everybody's like, yeah.
Go for it. Do
I
not
missed
cheap
mine.
out on your sheets. Let me tell you, you'll appreciate
Okay,
it.
because
It'll
I
make
know-
anything better.
All right, so let's turn it into a game, I guess. Well, because I need to get some, you need to get some. Let's go back to Bed Bath and Beyond and
Oh, do like the price thing?
Yes.
We could do that.
Yeah, that's
That'll
fun.
be
We should do that.
All right, that'll be a mandate.
We're gonna drop like $400 on
Again,
sheets.
I'm probably going to order mine online. Yeah, exactly.
But you can go and at least touch them. We can like rip some out of
Oh,
the
yeah,
package and
yeah,
just
yeah.
be
I'd
like
like to-
totally
I'd like to
irresponsible consumers.
Yeah,
that'd
fair
be
enough. That's built into the bottom line, Tyler. 3 or 4 fall off the truck every time they get them there.
Oh,
anyway.
absolutely. Hey, that's number one. I mean, that's my career, shipping and receiving. There's a place for that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So where were we?
Overreacting.
Overreacting.
What?
Sheets.
So something we were talking about on the break is a lot of people get excited about they got an opportunity, or they're gonna start something, a new project, or they're gonna do something positive, and they overreact and they go and tell the world. They post it on social media and they tell all their not all. It's okay to tell your closest friends because that's a good thing.
my 3,000 closest friends.
Yeah, I'm gonna go tell my 3,000 closest friends that I talk to every day. But anyways, they overspread and they overreact because of the excitement.
I hold on. I gotta put this out there. This is really important, and I hope this person listens to this podcast one day. But I'm gonna put them on blast. I'm not gonna no names, no anything. But I know somebody who overreacts like that. Like they'll watch a Netflix special, and then all this like on India, and then they'll come back with like an Indian lunchbox, and like it's like, oh, I'm gonna take all these good things, or like watch something about saving the world. It's like now I have to save the world, and they like overreact about saving the world for like a week, and then go back into the same normal routine and patterns. And I don't know where it came from, but they were supposed to finish a table that's in my backyard, and like it got like three quarters the way done. And then it was like an overreaction. I'm like, oh, I really want to start this project, and then it's been like now like months to come back to like just like pony it up to like finish it when it could have been finished in one day.
Yeah,
it could have, but unfortunately, it was like this. I'm gonna act out of emotion kind of place, or like I'm gonna act on this whim, like I want to do this, but I'm not sure if I want to do this. And it doesn't bother me that like the table's not finished, because I told him like, listen, I wasn't gonna finish it to begin with. Like this thing gets cooked, just throw it in the fire pit, call it a day.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a loss for me, and I wanted this person to be able to explore who they are and their passions and see like, oh, do I actually like this? Do I not like this? What does it really take to finish it? But it was like, I see this, that was just a really good example where you see this in all areas in life. It's like, oh, well, just because I watch one Netflix documentary, it will make me overreact in so many different ways. But then there's never a real change brought about.
Yeah.
And that's perfect, because like a lot of people do that, and I'm a huge supporter of try as many things as you can to figure out what it is that you truly want to do. I'm a huge supporter of that. It's just that very fine line of trying things, because a lot of things that you're going to try, especially when you try in bulk like that, a lot of things are going to be failures, and televising your failures, like having a table that's unfinished that now other people can see that failure. Like at the end of the day, it's an unfinished piece of work. You know what I mean? So somebody sees that unfinished piece of work, it says something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the more of those unfinished pieces of work that people can see, they start to paint this picture so that when you do finally find what it is that you want to do, they're going to figure and they're going to assume based off your track record that you're not going to finish that either. And that creates a very negative support system in your life. So it's like, I'm a huge supporter of try as many things as you can, but try to do it untelevised. Do it on your own. It's okay for you to not finish something if don't keep doing a bunch of the same projects and not finishing that. That's unhealthy.
Don't let the hammer down. Like this is a safe place. I wasn't blasting this person for doing it. I wanted to create a safe environment to say like, hey, listen, you have this outlet to do it, and this wasn't coming out of malice. But when we go out and we're so flippant in our lives, and we're so given to change in our lives, and we're so driven by our emotions and what we think or what we feel, we'll rack up a lot of casualties in our wake. You'll hurt a lot of people, or you'll mess up a lot of stuff, and like you won't understand the bigness of your mistakes. I mean, I can't think of the right word to say that.
Absolutely. We all know somebody who said to us one time, oh, you guys should tell me about like what you guys do. And my initial reaction to that statement was, if I told you everything that I've tried, you would think that I was the most wishy-washy person ever. Eric went to my apartment the other day, and he saw the stethoscope that I have on my wall. Yes. Which is the biggest testament to this concept ever, which was I was thinking of going into surgery, like becoming a surgeon. And I really looked into it, and I was really getting into it, and I had some books on medicine, and I like the concept of medicine as a whole. I love it. But I looked into it, and I saw that most surgeons do the exact same thing again and again and again and again. And I know that I'm not the person to repeat tasks. I love the dynamic, like doing things fresh every single time. That's why I think video is one of the biggest things for the podcast and like entertainment, because no two things are always going to be the same. And that's what I love about it. So I knew, and I bought the stethoscope because I wanted to see if I could see myself in that role, and I couldn't, and now that's why that hangs on my wall, is because it's a reminder of that. But a lot of people, they go and they say, they have this extreme reaction, and they're like, oh, I saw this Netflix documentary about South America. I'm gonna go become a South American.
I'm gonna go save the rainforest.
Exactly. I'm gonna join the Red Cross. I'm gonna go out, and they go and they book a plane ticket for like 3 years out, and then they like watch 2 documentaries, and then like the next week they watch a video about whales in the ocean, and they're like, oh no, the whales. And it's all like, let me go help Greenpeace, and let me go like, it's like, okay,
South America, who?
yeah. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with internally saying those things, because it takes a lot to figure out who you are.
Yes.
But if I was to tell Eric and Tyler every single time I thought of like a new like, it's like you have to have a vetting process for each of these systems. It's like, and the farther away people are from your inner circle, the later they get this information. So it's like they think that you're switching out even worse than you actually are.
Absolutely. And I think it's like important to have somebody in your life that you can relay these ideas to. I think to have that one person that you can talk to and empty out your ideas is a good thing, especially to get that feedback from someone you truly enjoy talking to and trust. But keep it there. You know what I mean? If you don't have anybody to talk to that gives you the positive reinforcement that you're looking for, then don't tell anybody. You know, do the research on your own, like you did. Like you did the research on medicine, and you really got into it. You were like, "This is gonna be awesome."
You bought a stethoscope.
You bought a stethoscope. Like, yo, like,
that was it.
I emailed a medical school asking about what I needed to do to get it.
And then you got to the point where you got like, "Oh wait, this is gonna be repetitive work." I know I don't like repetitive work.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work for me.
Hold on. So you have to go back you put the stethoscope on. It was like, nope, this doesn't feel right.
No, that was after I had already like. No, this sounds like such a dumb concept, but it was like, I still think I would love medical school. Like, I would be the guy who's 60 years old who goes to the medical classes and goes to do like all of the work just to get the degree.
Yeah.
But then I would do absolutely nothing with my degree.
Benji, if you could time travel, go back to like 1887 and just like be like a fly by night like traveling doctor.
Absolutely.
Benji's Wonder Tonic.
Yeah. Just give everyone leeches and cocaine and just let it ride. Well, no, but it's like and the stethoscope thing is you have to see yourself in that field. Absolutely. You know, and as dumb as it sounds to go buy a stethoscope and just wear it and be like, you know what, nah. Like, it's like that's the level that it is. That's the level that I work at. If that's a good one or a bad one is something to be said.
It is what it is. It's like we all go through that, and it's whether you do it in private or not. I think that every successful person has been through something extreme like that, where they tried something that wasn't even close to where they do now, but they had to try it.
Yep. And I was just really thinking, there's a difference in a distinction between extreme action and overreaction. And when you have to overreact, you're already almost too far away. But there's a place for extreme action. Talk about the podcast. We had the ideas. Everything just fell in the right place. And it was like, we're going to take extreme action. People would be like, well, you weren't really doing any of this stuff before. And now you're just like full steam in a direction that's like a little not common. I mean, I come from this background. Eric's in this background. Benjamin has always been in computer science, and it's been like a little a back passion. So people don't see those other little nuances. But it's like you guys just went full steam in a direction that we would have never saw coming. But it was like, are you sure you're not overreacting? Are you sure you're not pursuing the right thing? No, there was a difference between logical extreme reaction to say this thing needs to get off the ground or else it's never gonna move, versus like, oh God, like I don't know what would cause an overreaction, but like the compensation for like, oh, there was a problem and now I have to overcompensate.
That's perfect.
And freak out.
There's a huge difference between overreacting and overacting. You know what I mean? Getting that action out of it is really how you get to know what it is that you're doing. Buying that stethoscope was a huge move. Getting these microphones was a huge move.
Vocal noise, or even like overacting. Like there's there are certain exercises playing guitar or piano where you're going to do extreme stretches that you'll never play, but that overaction makes a normal action that much lighter.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of, like, you know, I'd rather spend the money than spend the time and Not okay. That didn't come out right. I'd rather spend the money on something to find out that I don't like it, as long as I get to that answer faster.
Yes.
So I'd rather like if I'm gonna if I wake up one morning and I'm like I want to learn how to play guitar, I will spend $100 on a guitar to find out if I want to play guitar.
You're not gonna like it.
Well, it's whatever it is or whatever money I would spend. I just said a random number.
Yeah. I'm just saying, $100 will make you not like playing guitar.
Well, fair enough. But like that's one of those things where I'd rather spend the money, see if I like it, instead of like my first reaction isn't gonna be go tell the world that I want to go learn guitar in a year. My first reaction is I'm gonna go buy a guitar and I'm gonna see if I actually do like it, and I'm gonna take the steps necessary to find out what those things are before I even tell before I tell too many people.
Shout out, little Easter egg. I heard Ray playing a little bit of guitar yesterday, and she was talking that she'd been playing guitar, and like, yo, I was so surprised how far she's come.
It's a beautiful guitar.
Yo,
It is a beautiful guitar.
but like I didn't know like what it was gonna amount to, because I know she tried for like a little while, and I was helping her, but then like I didn't know how much it was really gonna like stick. And I finally heard the fruits of like this, like the ball was in her court kind of deal. Like years later, it's like, wow, that was really good. So Ray, shout out, little Easter egg. You got to listen to the podcast to get the compliment. I'm not gonna say it to your face.
Haha.
And it's also important to continue this topic of the projects that we've started. We also have checkpoints that we have to hit before we start taking other steps. A lot of people can look from the outside in and say, those guys are going to make that big, massive move and they're going to take all of that risk. And it's like, no, we've taken smaller incremental risks slowly over time, and we've hit checkpoints again and again and again, and now we feel like there's a movement forward to do this another specific, more public checkpoint move. And if we don't hit a checkpoint with that move, then everything starts going backwards in the same direction. It's like, it's important for people to realize that a lot of people who you see who are like these instrumental people, you look at Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and all these, Elon Musk and all these important people, they're like, oh, they took a massive risk. It's like the reality of it is they probably took much smaller incremental risks.
Right, a bunch of little risks.
Yeah, absolutely, which aren't that dangerous in themselves, but they're proof of concepts for larger steps in the future.
That's perfect. That's a perfect testimony to this podcast, where like we started off and like we're not really promoting anything at this very point, but by the time you hear this, like on a bigger scale, like it's gonna seem like we hit it all at once, but in reality it was like a build-up up until this point where we've hit a bunch of smaller checkpoints. We got all the episodes racked up, recorded and ready to go, and then we release instead of like, well, even though they're released now.
Didn't we talk about that on the podcast? It was like we gave the studio and THELife podcast a leg up, so that it got strong enough as a plant to grow, so that if somebody stepped on it, it wouldn't go by the wayside, or people would be like, oh, check this out, oh, they got 2 episodes, oh, okay, like, and then they're bored.
Yeah, exactly.
The end.
Yeah, and that's key. You have to give yourself enough strength for whatever your idea needs to be able to stand on its own, because people are going to try to kick it. Every idea you have, people are going to try to kick it. So you have to give it enough strength for it to stand on its own, so that when people do come around trying to kick your little plant, you don't get sad and give up on it.
Closers?
Yeah, absolutely. And also to continue on the plant analogy, you can overwater plants. You can kill plants by drowning, which is kind of ironic in the sense that plants need water as they grow. But you can put too much on a small plant. Like you can't climb a sapling and expect it to hold you. You know, you have to give it enough time to grow and to mature before you start putting weight on it. And it's important with our dreams and our aspirations and our relationships and everything that we do to understand that things grow at different speeds, and to not over expect something to grow faster than it should, or to treat something as a sapling that's already a large oak tree. It's important to look at something as it is and to make steps dependent on how it's grown so far.
And I guess that's it, because that would really segue into an entire another podcast. So thanks for tuning in. All right, I guess I don't need this thing. Thanks for listening to the Life Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, rate, all that good stuff. Come follow us on Patreon. We'd really appreciate the support. You know, the coffee over here don't pay for itself. And there's the ducks.